We will become silhouettes. Silhouettes when our bodies finally go. We will become silhouettes when our bodies finally go. Oh, what's up, guys? Got quite a few people popping into the chat all at once. What's up? What it do? What it do? How's your night? Pretty good. Good enough, I suppose. Made some hush puppies, smoked some chicken earlier, so that's cool. What's up, Luke Skyrunner? Ooh, I think that's another person I recognize from the DFF chat, actually. That's cool. What's up, guys? What's up, everybody? Hello, hello. Good evening. I'm glad you're live. I can't sleep with all that's on my mind. Oh, Sophia, what's on your mind? What's going on in that big brain of yours? I have nights like that too. There's just too much to think about, too much to worry about, too much to fucking decide, too many fucking things to figure out. I get it. It happens for sure. I'm pretty sure Luke Skyrunner is somebody I recognize from the ideology chats. I might be wrong, though. I'm going to switch it to all messages so that I can see everybody. Usually helps things go a little faster. I've got a radio and cans of food, filtered water and pictures of you, and I'm not coming out till this is all over. 99% of the time I lurk in Paul's chat. Oh, okay. Yes, I've commented in his streams occasionally. I think I've seen you occasionally, maybe. Because I used to like camp out Paul's chats, bro. I used to be in there all the time. I'm actually not nearly as active on ideology as I used to be, but a lot of that's just motherhood and the fact that I do my own streams now. And I mean, I'm in between jobs right now, but there for a while I was just working a shit ton, so I really couldn't participate that much. But I like to pop in every so often, say a few things, have a little conversation, and then pop back out, you know? Just been thinking about the state of the world and how it relates to how I'm doing as well. Right on. You're saying so, like you're feeling like the weight of the world reflects maybe the weight of your personal decisions. I don't know if that's a great way to put it, but you feel like maybe the struggles that you're experiencing in your personal life are reflected in the struggles that the world's going through overall. The live under you is weird. It's a dude vaping into a bowl filled with water and rocks. What the fuck? Hey, happy for him, you know? Far be it for me to judge somebody. There's also the fact that I don't catch a lot of Paul streams live. I also love that flag in the background. Thank you. I like it too, yeah. Progress, peace flag. Pretty good. Pretty cool. I like it. And, yeah. Yeah, I don't, like, honestly, I don't catch a whole lot of Poral streams. I don't catch a whole lot of Poral streams live anymore, for the reasons aforementioned. But like I said, I still like to, you know, give them a visit every now and again. So what do you guys want to talk about tonight? The look of me is what's wrong with the country. Yeah, not Trump's needless trade war with our allies. Not the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Not the ongoing armed conflict in Eastern Europe. Nope. I'm what's wrong with the country. Do you think other people take your bullshit seriously? Just out of curiosity. Like, do you like go around talking that kind of crazy shit to everyday normal people? And when you do they react with the same puzzled look that I'm giving you right now? Slob's mama is what's wrong with this country. Yeah, that's true. I was up rutting on that bitch last night, and man, her pussy stank. I pop in and chat when I can. These streams are great for that. I would love to talk movies for sure. Just saw Friendship today. I have not seen Friendship yet, sadly. I did watch a really cheesy movie with my mom recently, and actually, I watched it with my partner first, and then my partner recommended it to my mom, and we had to rewatch it. So, but it's called Instant Family, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of a fan of cheese. I'm not entirely opposed to cheese, and as a new parent, that movie made me pretty happy. Made me all feel good and nice and warm in the warm and fuzzies. Look at you though. No, be honest. Nobody takes you seriously. I have 2,200 subs and growing, and I would say a good 25% of those people subscribed because they like the discussions that we have here, and they consider my opinions to be worthy of listening to. So if you assume 25% of those people out of that 2,200, that leaves me with around 500 people that are perfect strangers to me who consider my opinion to be worthy of consideration. So if we're just playing the numbers game here, one of us kind of has a little bit of verisimilitude behind their being taken seriously. The other is a rando in my chat complaining about the idea that they are being called out for this process. Used to live in Mississippi. Hell yeah. Yep, I'm a good old Mississippi shit kicker, bro. I could focus all of my energy on moving to some other state, and I probably could, but it would mean, number one, it would mean kind of like breaking up my family a little bit, and, that's not very fun. Number two, I've got a lot of family ties to the land I live on right now. I mean, it's been held and farmed by someone in my family for well over 80 years at this point, so it's just hard to walk away from that. But honestly, when we get right down to it, I'm a Mississippi shit kicker. I don't exactly have a Southern accent anymore, and in fact, it's pretty rare for Southernisms to come out in my speech, but you go beneath that kind of surface level thing, and you start seeing a whole lot of shit that is ultimately just derived from the fact that I'm a shit kicking Mississippi redneck. And there's no reason for me to front like I'm something else or to pretend like I could move to the Pacific Northwest, but those people are going to take issue with me too. They're just going to take issue from a different direction, see? They won't be mad at me for being queer, They'll be mad at me for having no fucking social graces or something. Or having too many social graces. Go to California where gayness is the norm. How about this? How about you and people like you that think that the South is occupied solely by bigoted, ignorant rednecks like yourself? Learn that there are rednecks who are not bigoted and ignorant. There are dumbass hillbillies like myself who have somehow managed to put the bigotry that we were raised around and possibly raised with behind us. Realize that fact for yourself. Realize that some of us have taken the ultimate next step and realized that our gender identity does not have to be locked down to some stupid bullshit that was decided by a pastor when we were 3, and come into the 21st century with the rest of us. You'll feel better about yourself. That's the best thing about it. And the second best thing about it is that you'll shut the fuck up with your stupid, bigoted efforts to legislate your backward social ideas into policy. Put the red back in redneck? Hell yeah. Raise hell, praise Dale, and fucking join the union. Oh my god. Okay, usually I don't read out roasts from the chat to the chat, but this one's pretty funny. Slob, do us all a favor and don't procreate with a family member, man. Break the cycle. And I have to repeat that because, bro, I got to give you that advice, if nothing else. Be like my parents, you know, that aren't siblings or cousins, you know? Like, go out and meet someone that's not in your immediate family and fuck that person and make kids with them. You will feel fucking so crazy being one of the few people in your insular little bigoted hillbilly world that is not related by blood to your wife. Be a real man? No, considering I'm not a man, and so I'm pretty bad at pretending to be one. How about this? How about you go and be whatever the fuck you want to be, and I'll continue sitting here as a trans woman, perfectly fine with that. This is comedy? You're 100% right. This is comedy, but the butt of the joke is you, and I'm the comedian. Yeah, just take the L. I don't know what the fuck makes your Trump supporting, dumbass, MAGA loving ass think that you are going to get fuck or all with me. Are there any statistics that you can show that show us that trans individuals do better on intellectual tests than cis people? Trying to prove my TERF parents wrong. I don't think that that's the example that I would go with. No, I don't think that there are any statistics that would show that trans people are on average smarter than cis people. It would not surprise me if we are, though, because trans people we have a much larger incentive to educate ourselves, right? Because trans people, by virtue of our being trans, are constantly we are constantly asked to answer for arguments from all over the political spectrum as to the very nature of our existence. And so, in order to navigate being trans without constantly breaking down into tears, you kind of have to learn some theory. You know, you kind of have to learn some psychology. You kind of have to learn some shit. Trans people also tend to be we tend to have interests that place us in close association with people who are semi-intellectual or fully intellectual. So it would not shock me if trans people were on average a little smarter than your average cis person, but I don't know if that's statistically backed up. I would never say that that is, because I've never read a statistic that assures that. It's just an extrapolation I'm making based on what I know about trans people's habits versus what I know about a cis person's habit. Now, that is not to say that any given trans person is going to be smarter than any given cis person. That's just to say, if someone were to produce that statistic that says trans people on average are 5 IQ points higher than a comparative cis person, I wouldn't be shocked merely because of the different pressures that are on cisgender people versus trans people. But obviously, individual experience is going to vary. I'm sure that there are for every really incredibly intelligent trans person, I'm sure that there's a really incredibly intelligent cis person to match them. I don't think that there's any kind of superiority argument that needs to be made with either one of our positions. I don't think trans people are better than cis people, and I don't think cis people are better than trans people. You know? The best way you can prove your TERF parents wrong is by moving out of their house, being successful, and never talking to them again. Or telling them, you can talk to me when you can gender me correctly and be respectful of my lifestyle and my beliefs, my presentation, who I am as a person. If you can't accept that, if you can't be respectful about it, I'm not interested. Revenge, my friend, success, my friend, is the sweetest revenge. Are you FTM? No, I am MTF. I just don't voice train. I don't voice train because I sing, and I feel like I would have a really difficult go of it. Plus, I tried for a while, and I don't feel like my voice sounds very authentic. If it makes any sense, I actually feel like my countenance is more feminine at its current pitch, I guess, than it is when I try to artificially make it higher. And I get that after a certain point, it would just like stay at that register, but like you have to get to that point first. But honestly, my voice is not that deep, and my countenance is not, in my opinion, it's not masculine at all. So I don't really experience that much dysphoria from my voice. That said, I mean, if I could snap my fingers and I could get like a pretty cis girl voice and I would be able to sing still, I'd probably do it. Thank you. You're welcome. I don't know if that advice was helpful at all, but I tried. Like I said, the best revenge you can get in that situation is just success. Show them that their ideas about trans people are wrong by showing them that you can be successful and have relationships and do your own thing without their input. Make them realize that they are living in a new era and that they're going to have to learn the new fucking rules of engagement for this era. Your voice is great, but I feel you on the voice thing. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I don't feel like super, like I really don't feel like it's that masculine a voice. I have met cis ladies that have a deeper voice than I do. And I've met cis ladies who don't have as deep a voice I do, but have a way more masculine countenance to their voice, have a way more masculine way of presenting. But if you ask them, if you talk to them, they are very firmly cis. You know, one of my old friends, a girl named Abigail, and normally I would, wouldn't just say someone's name out like that, but Abigail's such a common name these days, it doesn't matter. But I had an old friend named Abigail, and she was so what I would consider like masculine. Like she acted in a lot of ways way more like an edgy teen boy with a femme side than she did like an edgy teen girl with a masculine side, which is what a lot of people I think would have identified her as at first they would have identified her as that. But she was one of those people, like the more you talk to her, the more you realize, you know, that like this person really does not fall in line with the gender ideas that were purported to believe in this society. Also, there's 70 people watching. Make sure you guys hit that like button because it really does help. It really does help. Every single time you hit that like button is another chance for the stream to get even more interesting by virtue of more people joining the chat. It's not deep but not feminine at all. I don't really think I don't agree, but whatever. If you don't perceive it as feminine, that's fine. You can have whatever perception of my countenance that you like. I really don't care how you see me, just that you're seeing me. What the fuck isn't even that creature? I am a nuisance to man and a mystery to the gods. What's up, Glitch Dash? Hey, if there are any mods in here, order 66 on any dumb shit. Let's get some intelligent people in the chat and let's begin to have something like a conversation, because just reading unoriginal fat jokes is getting a little fucking tiring. Do you have any sharpshooters in your chat like Paul does? As of right now, I have one more. Welcome, Luke Skyrunner, to the mod team. The main reason you have been picked is because you're a known quantity. I've seen you for a million years in Pessimist Productions chats, and, as kind of a splinter offshoot of that community, I generally trust people that I trust over there to be honest and forthright and all that shit. And I like you guys. And like I said, you're a known quantity. And so welcome to the team. But basically, it doesn't come with any obligation other than if you're here, if you see something like if you see a big old stinky, dirty turd and it's not really interesting, if it's just a regular old turd, but it's real dirty and stinky, just, clean it up, like if you have time. If you don't, if you're in a rush, if you really got to get to the train station, I understand that, not an obligation. I can't afford to pay you, in other words. But I do appreciate any help from anyone that I trust to be able to pick out an interesting troll from an uninteresting troll, which is really the task of a mod in this community. Because just like ideology, these streams are chat based. Paul's chat is what inspired me to do these streams, and that format is pretty much what we do here. So it is entirely contingent on the chat being readable and interesting. I really don't care if someone's talking shit. I just want them to be original about it. I want them to be original about it, and I want them to provide something that is readable. It's got to be readable, original, and interesting. And if you can do that, if you can do all three of those, we can have a fucking conversation. I don't care what position you're coming from. I don't think most people aren't disrespecting you. Now, the ones that call you names, yes, but most just want to see if you're open enough. Some of them are definitely being disrespectful, like, not just obviously one's calling me names and shit, but there are certain questions that are specifically asked by right-wing demagogues, or that right-wing demagogues tell their audiences to ask, that are meant to be disrespectful in their very framing. Now, a lot of these questions I will still answer, but it's after calling out the framing for being a disrespectful one, right? So ultimately, I like to think that I present myself as pretty open to the discussion, It's not like I'm sitting here rejecting the very ability to talk about it. It's just that if someone comes at me sideways, even if I'm willing to engage in the subject matter, I'm going to come back at them sideways, because that is the only fair way to arrange that arrangement. Bro smells like Ann Geyser from Yellowstone. Man, we are just going to have to clean up the chat, aren't we? All right. Subscribers, 1 minute. Message delay, 10 seconds. That is the solution to our problems. There we go. Yay! Okay, let's see if Luke Skywalker said anything, because I would be remiss not to look. Oh, you're welcome, Luke Skyrunner. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming in here and checking out the channel, and I appreciate you helping out in the chat and giving us the ability to have a fucking conversation on here. Because ultimately, these streams are fucking boring when there's nothing to talk about. Because a lot of times I just come on here to just like have something like a conversation, something like an interesting political conversation. It's not something that I get as much of as I would like in my everyday life. And so I, get to experience that sort of thing more through these streams. But the only way it's entertaining for other people is if the chat is readable, and the only way that it's enjoyable for me, honestly, is if the chat is somewhat readable. Of course. Thank you. I have to admit, my first time in the stream I came to troll, but you've been pretty awesome every time I come to your stream, truly helping me with my insensitive beliefs. Well, thanks. I'm glad that I can be of assistance. A lot of people just come to troll, but ultimately I'm pretty friendly to trolls, I mean, what I've laid out so far is very pro-troll. Very, very, it's incredibly pro-troll. Be original, interesting, and readable. That's it. And nowhere in there does it say agree with me all the time. Nowhere in there does it say don't troll. Nowhere in there does it say don't be a douchebag. All I'm asking, as far as these chats go, is for you to be interesting, original, and readable. That's it. IOR. Interesting, original, readable. Yeah, I understand. Unrelated, but is the Jason in here the same Jason from Paul streams? No. No, not unless not as far as I know. No, Jason from Paul streams is actually banned on Paul streams now. But his username is Xean Jean, I think. Sean. I don't know. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, but Xean Thomas. Zian Thomas or something like that. Who the fuck is Paul? Oh my god. This is the beautiful thing about having part of my community that's from this, way bigger podcast community that I'm a part of, like an audience member of, basically. And the rest of my audience is just like organically people that have just found my streams and are interested by them and hang around, right? This is the interesting thing about it, because people will be like completely confused sometimes, because I'll bring up Paul Zigo out of nowhere and somebody's like, what the fuck? Who the fuck is that? Paul Zigo is another person that does streams just like these, and he also has a podcast called Onion Nuggets. They just had a stream earlier today. You can go check that out if you want to. They are pretty cool people. And I'm an audience member over there. I donate to them in Super Chat when I can, and I have their Patreon as well. But I've been like a pretty active commenter on there and like DFF defender for a few years now. So like most people in the DFF community that are active and like the comments and the chats and things like that are familiar with me. Kind of a weird position to be in, like I said, because a lot of the people that come through over here, like a lot of the people that decide to check my channel out because they see me interacting over there, end up liking these streams, but they don't make up the bulk of the people who've joined this community, which I guess speaks to the quality of my content, right? Sorry, that was really long and drawn out. Let me see here. I'm not a troll. I don't particularly even comment on stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't, honestly. Of the people who watch your stuff, like 10% of them will interact or engage with it in any way. I mean, look at it right now. There are 49 people watching the stream right now. Of those 49 people, there are maybe 8 people chatting, Can we start debating something, which I think is the point of the stream? Yeah, as soon as somebody asks an interesting question worthy of responding to in the form of an argument, we can have an argument about something, sure. Honestly, our views would most likely be completely opposite, but you seem like a sincere person, and that's all I require of people for me to be friendly towards them. Sincerity is a really important fucking distinction. Yeah, sincerity is an important quality out of a human being, because well, for obvious reasons, I guess. Because if you can't take someone at their word, then you don't know what to expect from them. It's hard to make plans with someone you can't take at their word, and thus sincerity is an important quality. I see you dabble in za. What's the craziest experience of any, if any, that you have ever had? And have you ever tried any other substance? I will answer that in just 1 second, maybe. Hi, how are you? I'm okay. I'm not chatting because I have no idea what to chat about. Literally anything. If there's something in the news you want to talk about, go ahead. If there's something in this room that you want to ask me about, go ahead. If you want to ask me like a genuine question about my health or some shit like that, I don't know why people want that fucking kind of information, but people are constantly bothering me about my fucking health. So if you want to comment on that in a respectful way, I guess that is one area where I require people to be respectful. Because if you're just going to say like, ew, fat, that's not, like I can't do anything with that. So that just gets deleted. But if you're going to ask like, when did you start gaining weight? Like that's like a perfectly acceptable question, even if it is kind of a sneak diss. Why are trans people's life expectancies so low? I don't mean to be offensive. I was just curious, since it's exceptionally below the average. Because well, there's quite a bit of violence towards trans people. There's quite a bit of like the trans suicide rate is incredibly high. People who kill themselves, and either in their note they come out as trans, or they have been out as trans to a few people, and then they kill themselves because they try to come out to their parents, and their parents like destroy their lives, basically. So that drives it down. Like a lot of the people who are trans who commit suicide do so between the ages of like 14 and 21. So that drives it way the fuck down. Trans people are more likely to, like, because of the social isolation we often experience in society, trans people are more likely to engage in dangerous activity and dangerous hobbies and stuff like that. That also drives it down. So I would say it's a confluence of factors, but I would say those are the main ones. The statistic often cited for the low life expectancy was from data specifically about hate crime, I think. Well, yeah, if that's the case, then there you go. It's also because an older trans person is more likely to have figured out how to be. Someone who's been trans for 20 years is going to be way better at passing and not being visibly trans if they don't want to be, than someone who's only been trans for 2 or 3 years, as in like a young trans person. Do you believe that gender dysphoria can ever be a mental illness requiring treatment? It is a mental illness requiring treatment, and the treatment is allowing people to transition. That's literally, it's in the DSM-5, and that is the recommended treatment. That's why being trans is actually the sane choice to make if you're a person who experiences gender dysphoria. Because they've tried all the other methods, and it is just statistically proven that when you allow people with gender dysphoria to transition and live as the gender that they see within themselves, they live longer and have happier lives than if you try to therapy it out of them or torture it out of them. I meant treatment other than transitioning, so I'm assuming no. I mean, not like, I guess no, but I would say that if you're going to just exclude transition as medical treatment, even though it is, I would say that you are asking an improperly formed question. You are asking a question which cannot be answered as asked. Speaking of life expectancy, do you think it sucks that there's a contrast of middle class to upper class because they have more access to top healthcare? Like rich people would live 10 years older average. Um, yes, I I do think I do think that, and it's not just something I have to think; it's something that you can just prove, right? In our capitalistic system, at least here in America, um, class is directly tied, or I'm sorry, healthcare and your ability to receive it is directly tied to class in this country. If you are not rich, you cannot afford your healthcare, period. Eventually, you will run up a bill that you cannot pay. It happens to most people in the last 6 weeks of their life. They start running up a bill that their family ends up being left with because their insurance just stops covering it after a certain point, or because even what the insurance doesn't cover, there's so much left after that, right? And what that means is that people who have infinite money to throw at this kind of thing can afford to live for way longer because they can afford multiple $1 million treatment processes in their life. Do you realize, and this is a fucking tragedy, dude, I hate to fucking think about it. Do you realize how many fucking poor families in America lose parents every year because one of them gets cancer and they realize the treatment's going to be way more than any of them can afford in their lifetimes? And they just decide, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to continue with this treatment because I don't want to leave my family with a massive $500,000 hospital bill and I only live 2 years longer. That is fucked. That is fucked. You cannot tell me that that is a fair fucking system. You cannot tell me that that is a righteous fucking system. Especially when we're all the people going through that process are always being fucking bent over a barrel for their fucking health insurance premiums, and yet there's no money to pay for their fucking care because those companies make their money off of denying you fucking care. It's a ridiculous system. It shouldn't be profit based. There's no fucking reason. There's no justification for tying profit motive to fucking medicine. It's a ridiculous fucking prospect. Do you think trans women should be able to partake in men's sports and vice versa? I think that cascades into competitively opportunistic taking over divisions that they're biologically gifted in. Nobody is going to go through the socially isolating process of gender transition just so they can win games against, uh, you know, people who were born with vaginas. That's ridiculous. It's just an absurd. It's an absurd argument. I'm sorry. It is just an absurd argument. Nobody on the planet is going to go through the amount of social isolation that you experience when you come out as trans. Nobody is going to go through the rigorous process of changing all their documents and everything else you have to do to go through like the process of gender transition just so that they can beat women at women's sports. It is retarded. And it's apparently, like, if that is going on, it's apparently not a very effective fucking route, because there has not been a single trans athlete who has risen to the top of any fucking sport in this country. It is a non-issue. It is made an issue by people who, like, ultimately, I think it's made an issue by people who stand to benefit from you and me and people like us in our economic position bitching at each other and fighting with each other, rather than looking up and seeing where the crumbs that occasionally rain down from are actually coming from. Looking up there and seeing that massive table upon which the billionaires sit. You have to factor in that sports isolate people with their estrogen levels, testosterone levels, and weight class, which would be fair. I mean, dude, Donklet, you don't even have to get that deep into the issue before it's revealed for how stupid it is. I'm sorry. Like, you don't even have to get that deep into it. You just have to look at the fucking the bare preposterousness of the bare preposterous nature of the question being asked. The hypothetical being posed to me right now is that there's going to be some slew of trans ladies who only come out and be trans to win at women's sports, or that this is already happening. But if it is, it's not effective. It doesn't work, because there has been no trans woman able to rise to the top of a sport yet. There is no world championship like of any women's sport held by a trans woman. There hasn't been, and there probably won't be for another 10, 15, maybe 20 years. That's true. Most mainstream issues are a massive fucking waste of energy to discuss. I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying, right? Like, I don't mind arguing about them. I don't mind arguing with them or whatever. It's fine. But when it comes right down to it, like, you, like, some of these issues really are just meant to distract us. Like the trans sports thing. It doesn't fucking matter. It's a non-issue. I don't like most trans people don't give a fuck, honestly. Like most trans people are opposed to trans people being excluded from sports on principle, but they don't really care about the issue, if that makes sense. Like it's not something that would get them to the fucking voters booth on, you know? And so it's just ridiculous, you know? Like it's posed to us constantly. It's something that we're made to argue about, and I think it's all a fucking distraction. Like even if you take class out of it, at the very least it's a distraction from the actual fucking issues at hand, which are that trans people continue to experience higher rates of sexual violence towards them. Like we are more likely to be victimized sexually, despite the fucking untoward narratives that go on about trans people in bathrooms. We are actually the ones who are more likely to be assaulted in them, you know? So like it's just a way of making sure that the discourse around trans people is about how dangerous we are to women, to children, to other people. It's ridiculous. It's an entirely oppressive narrative. Any furs here? I don't know. Probably. I attract furries for whatever reason. One of my good friends here on YouTube actually is a furry, so I think they would consider themselves at least like furry adjacent, maybe. What was your question, Papa CJ? I will open channel activity and I'll look for it. See, no, you said see above question for debate, but all I see is that like that's the last thing you said. So let me see. Let me scroll up. Maybe it got hidden. See above question. I am not sure. What are you smoking? Pan, obviously. Do you agree that transitioning is what creates the discourse that hurts you and that limiting transitions would prevent trans backlash? No. No, transitioning is not what creates the discourse. I mean, maybe transitioning is what creates the discourse, but the fact that the discourse is harmful to trans people is actively egged on by right-wing commentators. It's something that was decided by the media elite of this country. It's something the media elite of this country have decided that trans people are now a football. Like black people being black is what creates racial discourse in this country. I don't think that means that we should wipe out black people, because that would wipe out racial discourse, And that seems like a really absurd argument to me. I think that if we're going to limit anything, it should be misinformation. Like outright lying about shit, not providing sources, etc. I think once you get to a certain point of popularity, you should be held to account for the things that you say being truthful when it comes to matters of fact. Because you can do here's what gets me, right? Slant has been a thing for a long time, but it's only been in the last 20, 30 years maybe that the media has started actively lying to people en masse and all the time. That's like a fairly recent fucking thing. And for some news agencies, it's more recent than others. Like there are some news agencies that were pretty good right up until this moment or that moment or the other. But that's fucked up. Like we can't allow that. It's clearly not fucking safe for the country. I mean, look at the fucking direction we're going. Like we've known fucking climate change has been an issue for fucking how long? And we're still not doing anything meaningful about it. We've known that there's been a rising tide of fascism in this country for how long? And we have still continued to do, like, what have we done about it? Nothing. So I think if we're going to start limiting anything in this country, it's not transitions we need to target. It's fucking misinformation. It's people who will willingly and willingly and boldly lie to the public. Like I said, I don't think it should apply to everybody, because like if it does, you're just talking like massive fucking bureaucracy. But if you're like, if you have like a million active listeners or something like that, or maybe even like 500,000 active listeners or something like that, you should probably be held to account for outright lying. And I don't think that's a hard fucking thing to ask of people. I would have no problem if I got to that level. Like I'm already like looking forward to the day when I've got a new phone and I can turn this phone into a secondary phone that I can use to look shit up on the fly to back up the shit that I say. Because I love pulling a source. I fucking love pulling a source and showing, hey, don't listen to me. I'm just a moron on the internet. Listen to the fucking World Health Organization, or listen to the fucking Southern Poverty Law Center, or whatever, right? I love pulling a source, and if I was that fucking popular, I would have no problem hiring a whole fucking team of like 3 people to make fucking sure that as I'm talking, sources are being looked up, provided, and I would have an earpiece in so that they could update me on the fly if something I said, if I worded it in a way that presented it incorrectly, and I could change it on the fly. I'd have no problem with that. In fact, I think listeners would like my content more because they would be able to tell that at the very least, I try to get my information from reliable sources, and I publish what those sources are. And I think that if I did that independently of any legislation, it would be, I think it would be an ingratiating thing for the channel, and I think that positive effect that I forecast for when I eventually do that here would be felt by anyone making content if this sort of legislation were to go forward. So yeah, if we're going to limit anything, misinformation. Joe Rogan style? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yes, I would hire a Jamie if I had that kind of money. If I was fucking Joe Rogan popular, you bet your sweet ass I would have a Jamie. Hell yeah. Look up the picture of that crazy monkey, young Jamie. Let's see that. Look at its balls. Aren't they huge? They just dangle and sit in the grass there. Probably get tickly ever so often. I would hire Jamie in a minute if I had that kind of money. A lot of cases of transitions are not legitimate gender dysphoria, but mainly sex kink. What? Where do you get that idea? What? Where does that come from? Like, what is that based on? Like, you got a source on that? Same for me. Like, what if you have no idea what to identify as because I don't enjoy labels? I mean, that's the beautiful thing about gender is once you realize that it is ultimately a label and an identity and everything else, if you feel encumbered by that, but you don't feel like, see, here's the thing. I feel encumbered by masculinity, and femininity makes me feel free of that. But there are some people who feel chained by both femininity and masculinity. And they end up just doing whatever makes them feel comfortable. And that is a perfectly fucking valid way to be. You can be an intelligent, rational, hardworking person that wears whatever the fuck you want to and doesn't care what shelf it came off of. I'm confused. Well, read the chat. You'll probably be less confused. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You can always make the stream go back, I don't know if I'm too high for this or if I'm too stupid, but seriously, why does someone become trans? I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand. Like, I'm a furry and understand femboys, but okay. So, you've probably not heard it illustrated this way, because to me, when I heard it illustrated this way, I was like, oh, that's me. I couldn't say that out loud, but I was like, oh shit, neat. Some people feel like they were born in the wrong body, like head to toe wrong body. They feel like their muscle mass doesn't match up. Their genitals are the most prominent thing that don't match up. All of these other things don't match up either. And on the basis of them not matching up, on the basis of them appearing like what people assume the sex of a given gender dynamic to be, that gender dynamic in my case being men, boys, they assume all of these behaviors out of you, right? And that is what really becomes restrictive about gender, right? There will always be people who feel a lack of cohesion between what they experience as far as their physical reality and what they see themselves as, the gender or sex group that they relate to. But I do think that there would be less turmoil in the internal lives of trans people if society were not so oppressively gendered. I don't know if that makes sense, but like the fact that we think of certain things as toys for boys and certain things as toys for girls, and the fact that some clothes are seen as clothes for girls, and et cetera, so on down the line, that I think if we didn't have that, we might not have as many trans people, honestly, because there would probably be less people that felt so deeply held back by their bodies, because I think what ends up breeding so much resentment in a lot of trans people for our bodies Obviously not all of it, because, as a person who has managed to, man, my brain is going all over the place. I'm so sorry. Um, like, I have managed to find quite a bit of peace through my transition process and the various steps of my life. I'm still trying to make things right in my like financial situation and shit like that. But as far as like me being who I am and feeling comfortable in that, I've gotten to a pretty good place in that. And I don't hate my body nearly as much as I used to. But despite that, I still feel a lot of gender dysphoria when I think too hard about the fact that I have a penis, or the fact that I naturally grow more hair than other women, because of that fact. And when I think about those things too long, I can become like very kind of like weirded out by my own body. And given that, I know that it's not something that is merely tied to the social connotations of it. I don't know if that made sense. That was a lot to explain. But I think I've made statements in the past that may have made it sound like I think that all of like the entire existence of trans people hinges on social psychology, and I don't think that that's entirely true. I do think some of it is internal, but I think a lot of it is informed by that social aspect. And I think that what breeds a lot of resentment in a lot of trans people towards their bodies is the fact that their bodies being the way they are and looking the way they do makes so many other people assume so much about what they want and what they should wear and everything. And that creates this kind of like oppressive dynamic where your body is the source of all this frustration in your life, where you can't dress the way you want because you have a dick and you have hair, like you have uh, a different kind of hair, and your body hair grows way faster and all this other shit. Or you can't wear the clothes that you want because you have a pussy and your body hair barely grows at all, and your hair is nice and slick and smooth, and um, these sorts of oppressive gender roles that we enforce in society, I think, drive a lot of the resentment that trans people end up feeling towards our bodies in a lot of cases. So what's the difference between trans and like cross-dressers? A trans person genuinely feels like they are the gender that aligns with the way that they present as, like um, usually the gender identity associated with the sex opposite of that with which they were born. So like a trans woman is someone who was born assigned male at birth and um, like lived as a man or like as a boy until their transition, whereas a trans man is someone who was assigned female at birth and lived as a girl or a woman until her transition. Man, we've been going so long on this topic. But a crossdresser is just someone who likes to play around with like fucking with gender norms for one reason or the other. That's all a crossdresser is. Like, ultimately, crossdressing is different from being trans because for a trans person, the way that they dress is just an extension of how they present themselves, how they see themselves, right? For an open trans person, them dressing in the method that is common with the gender opposite the sex they were born as is like it comes as a result of personal identity, not necessarily as a desire to perform. In the case, as is the case with a lot of cross dressers, or the desire to um, violate some kind of social norm just for purposes of being an agitator or whatever the case may be. I don't think that I don't think that either of them, by the way, is any less valid than the other. I think cross-dressers are a completely valid group of people. They're fine. But yeah, like a cross-dresser would be someone who, like, like a cross-dresser is like a man in a dress, like a cisgender man wearing a dress, or I guess like a passing trans man wearing a dress. But even a non-passing trans man wearing a dress would technically be, that would be drag. That would be cosplay, or that would be cross-dressing. God damn it. With how much I'm itching my nose, you would think I was on coke right now, but I promise I'm not. What qualifies as a transition? I think just like coming out about it, and I think usually it also includes dressing differently, maybe being more honest and more yourself with your countenance. There's probably changes that come along with that as you get used to like who you really are and who you have acted. Like most trans people have been acting themselves in front of a few specific people for most of their lives, and them coming out as trans enables them to be that way with everyone in general. Are cross-dressers technically queer then? I don't think so. Maybe. I would say they're queer adjacent at the very least, but I think individual cross-dressing people may be queer, but I think you can also be completely straight and cisgender and be a cross-dresser. Like, there are numerous people that do that just because they're strong allies to the LGBT community, and they do it as a form of activism. And there are straight cis men who like doing drag. They like doing it, and they receive like a type of gender related euphoria that is different from the gender euphoria that trans people feel when they put on an outfit that relates to their the gender they identify with. Does it referring to traits or styles, feminine or masculine, contradict the concept of gender fluidity? If gender is truly fluid and these terms are just social constructs, why wear femme clothing? Because, I mean, ultimately, I am a product of the gendered society that I grew up in, and as much as I might consciously realize that it is absurd to think that this shirt is any more feminine than a button-down shirt, as much as I might realize that logically neither of them have any connotation that is set in stone, I was not raised in a society that believes those things, and therefore I don't have necessarily that emotional connection in my head, if that makes sense. So when I see certain clothing, I still think of it as feminine, even if I logically recognize that's not, it doesn't have to be feminine if you don't want it to be, you know? But there are also things I wear that, like, could be masculine if worn in a certain way, but I wear them in a certain way that makes them less masculine and makes them, like, androgynous or even kind of femme. But ultimately, I think what you're asking is a question of utility, right? Um, Even if when we recognize gender is a fluid kind of matrix of different points, once you realize that, um, it is like, even after you realize that, it is still useful to use terms like masculine and feminine to denote what the culture at large sees as the various um, home points within this spectrum, right? So on one side, you've got masculine and all of the behaviors that society at large associates with masculinity, all the expressions, all the fashion styles, all the hobbies. And on this side, you've got, and it doesn't necessarily have to be these two sides, it can be up, down, you can look at it any way you want to, but I'm just using left and right as an example. And then over here, you've got the feminine home base, which is feminine hobbies and feminine fashion styles and things like that. And when I call these things feminine, I'm not saying that they necessarily actually are. What I'm saying is that society at large has decided that they are, that we tend to usually agree that they are. And them being decreed so makes a big difference in a person's life. For trans people, it makes a larger difference than it does for cis people, because cisgender people are comfortable with the gender that they were assigned at birth. So would I be kind of in the middle of trans and cross-dressing? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out, so I'm asking questions. Hard to know. Howdy, what's up? What's up? It's hard to know. Without knowing more about you, it's hard to know for sure. Read some books about being trans, read some books by trans people about the experience of being trans. Maybe read a book on the history of cross-dressing, and you might get more of an idea of where exactly you stand on the spectrum of gender and sexuality. Or just talk to me more about it, because I'm always happy to answer questions. Also, this is just a reminder, please hit that like button. It really does help. I really haven't done nearly enough self-promotion tonight, so I hope you guys are ready to listen to some. Please hit that like button. It really does help. You can either double tap your screen or you can hit the physical button. Well, it's not a physical button. It's not like one's got to pop up on your phone, but there is one over here on this rail, I believe. Please also consider hitting up the membership. I post quite a few pictures from my everyday life on the membership tab, and pretty soon I'll be making long-form content where I release videos to my members first before they come out to everybody else. So that'll be pretty cool. And finally, if you want to make absolutely sure that one of your mini messages gets read by me, I read every single super chat regardless of how hateful or badly worded it is. I try to stumble through it regardless. No OnlyFans, no OnlyFans yet. You can't live like anything that you aren't. It could just be a stage of life where being like a cat, you can't miss or live like what you've never experienced. Yeah, see, but your idea that gender is this thing that's rigidly tied to your sex is exactly what trans people are fighting against, because it's just not. Gender is a feeling. Gender is an experience. It's a social construct, period. Well, you do realize when someone comes out as trans, they're not saying, me coming out as trans has now replaced my penis with a vagina, right? Or my vagina with a penis, right? Like, you realize that there is a profound difference between getting a sex change and merely coming out as trans. That's why there's the term social transition versus physical transition. No, gender and sex are not the same thing. And gender and sex, by the way, sex is a lot more complicated than people like to think it is. People will define woman all day with the definition of the female sex. But that's not what a woman is. Because if it is, then there are a lot of people that you cannot fairly call women that you call women all the time. If a woman is a human being capable of reproducing with their uterus and passing a baby with their vagina, then any elderly woman is no longer a woman. Any woman that's had a hysterectomy, not a woman. Anybody that has Meyer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome, not a woman. I could go on, but we're going to end up excluding something like 35% of all women just to satisfy your biological essentialist perspective on gender. Yes, there is a movie by a dude named Matt Walsh called What is a Woman? And I have not seen it, and I don't plan to. I'm too high for this, but you know what? That is fine. You know what? Me too, bro. It's chill. We can be high together. Yo, that reminds me. I wrote a. Have any of you guys heard of Jesse Wells? My definition of a woman is an adult human whose gender identity aligns with their personal scheme of the female sex. Took from another streamer named Javon. I mean, it doesn't honestly sound that different from what I define gender as. Gender is the set of behaviors that human beings associate with what they assume to be the sex of a given human being based on the behaviors that they are presenting at the time of perception, which is a fucking difficult definition to get through, but I think it's pretty cogent and actually sums it up pretty well. So gender is just all the other assumptions that you make based on another person when you see them out in public, and make an assumption based on that as to what their sex is. So it's tied to sex, but only indirectly. Oh yeah, no, dude, I get what you mean. I get what you mean, Donklet. I know that I'm a cis woman by heart, but the world so focused on roles is driving me mad. I wish it was that easy to know me. Yeah, I hope you realize I don't think that me telling you I'm a trans woman tells you anything about me other than the fact that I was born with a penis and now live as a woman. That's all me telling you that I'm a trans woman tells you about me. There's a song I love called Gender is Boring, and it's got this beautiful verse in it. You see, the problem I have with gender is that I don't even know whether I know when I say I know what I mean when I say I'm a woman, because I say I am one. Because boys can wear dresses and makeup, anyone can wear whatever they want. Girls can have short hair and muscles, and that's where I run into trouble. Because if I use she pronouns, then what does that mean? Am I reinforcing a gender binary that I don't believe in, that I don't adhere to? I tell you I'm a woman. What's that supposed to tell you? Gender doesn't tell you a damn thing about me. Doesn't tell you what I like, doesn't tell you what I think. That's why I say being trans is largely a response to social pressures. What's that song again? It's called Gender is Boring, and it's by She, Her, Hers. Gender is Boring. Nice singing. I wasn't even trying. That's funny. Oh, Pennsylvania, 3 Mile Islands, your coal fires buckle the miners' highway. I'd love just to leave you, but it's good to see you at old Philadelphia, Hostile City, PA. At old Philadelphia, Hostile City, PA. Oh, oh. Wake me when Steel City's roadwork signs shine in my face. Oh shit. I was holding down the fucking tab to my lighter for part of that. That's no good. Luckily, there's not nearly enough gas in these to light up a whole building. You ever listen to Phil Oakes? Here's to the state of Mississippi. Their keys are rattling as they throw you to the floor, and their belly is a-jiggling as they close the prison door. Oh, there ain't no mercy, nor no loving, nor no kindness anymore. Oh, here's to the land you tore out the heart of. Mississippi, find yourself another country to be part of. Finally growing your hair long? Nice. Nice. Let's see. Do I know another Phil Oakes song? Oh, yes. Sophia, because you asked that. Boy, do I know the song for you. I know, given your leftist tendencies, you'll love this one. This E string makes it sound like I'm playing fucking slap bass sometimes. I don't like it. I need to have this fucking guitar serviced. You know, just another fucking endless thing on the list of things I need to do. Super chat so I can get my guitar serviced. God damn it! No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you know, I'm not, but no pressure. Come on. There we go. I wish I could do what I want when I want. I think that people bully others for no reason, like why we get mad at normal bullies, but the moment someone like gets harassed for being gay, etc. It's because there is always someone in society. You have to understand what I like to call the ladder of suffering, right? Or maybe it should be called the hill of suffering, right? So the hill of suffering usually aligns with class, but it doesn't evenly. The hill of suffering is predicated on class, but the people who ultimately fill the valleys at the bottom are determined usually by factors that are not related to class. You know, the people who really end up at the very bottom of that suffering mountain. And the way suffering mountain works is this. A boulder falls out of the sky because of the way a hill works. Usually, boulders that hit Suffering Mountain that fall out of the sky randomly don't usually hit the top. When they do hit the top, they smash there, but then very quickly begin rolling down the slope, right? And as they roll down the slope and gather victims, it makes the ball larger, it makes the effect greater, and by the time it gets down to the bottom of Suffering Hill, you are looking at millions of people dying on account of this boulder falling from on high. Now, a lot of times the boulder is not dropped from on high, it's actually built by someone at the very top and then rolled down, and it doesn't end up affecting them at all. It actually ends up benefiting them because the people at the very bottom are the ones who shipped them all the fucking parts to make the boulder, right? But when you look at it like that, it becomes kind of easy to understand why some bullies are recognized for their heinous, violent nature and why other bullies are just kind of like passively allowed to continue oppressing. It's because that there are people higher up the mountain are recognized by everyone lower than them on the mountain as being, and sometimes by people higher than them on the mountain, but not always. But most of the time, the higher up you are on Suffering Mountain, the more likely you are for a story of your victimization to be taken personally by people as a whole, by society as a whole. Whereas the farther down you are, the less likely. Can you quit it? Man, that's fucking bugging the piss out of me. Quit it. Fuck off. Cut that out. This trash tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, see, Jason, I just think you're completely wrong on that. I think that you are going around believing a lie told to you by the fucking alt-right and broadly right-wing media culture. But are we ever likely to agree, given that we come at this from such different directions? USA is at the top of the mountain then? I mean, yeah. Well, yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it, is that's why the suffering mountain analogy works so well, is because whole countries whole countries and whole peoples exist on suffering mountain. And they have their own, suffering mountain kind of ecosystem within those rings. So yeah, America's probably, I would say America, China, and Russia probably occupy the first three slots, with America probably being at the peak right now. We're being chipped away at every so often by our closest neighbor, China. But hey, as of right now, I'd say we're the dominant power. And after that, there's probably a slew of 20 pretty powerful countries but countries that pretty much rely on the stewardship of one of these other countries, and but yeah, like within that suffering mountain, you've got these individual little ecosystems for each of these countries, and the shit rolls downhill in them just like it rolls downhill for us, and the shit rolls downhill for us just like the shit rolls downhill for the whole fucking globe. And yeah, because bad decisions, you're right, bad decisions made in America produce ripples that go international. A bad decision, like a horrible decision made at the top levels of American governance or American business leadership, it sends ripples that echo through the entire planet, literally. Bad decisions made at the top levels of American government positions and American business leadership positions end up changing the world, sometimes for the better in response, sometimes for the worst by consequence. Nothing biological about wearing a dress or painting your nails. No, that's what I'm always trying to tell people, but do you think being transgender could be a mental health issue that should have stayed at being gay / bi, that would have been like being the other gender? No. No, gender dysphoria is in the DSM-5, and the recommended treatment is gender transition. So the doctors who study this shit say that the best way to cure, quote unquote, a person who has gender dysphoria is to allow them to transition. So no, I don't have to wonder about this one. I can just tell you what the scientists say on the matter. How could it be a mental health issue? Because this person says it is, obviously. Sophia, are you still in here? But yeah, some people say it's a mental health issue just because they fucking wanna. Honestly, I don't. I'm not assuming any malice on Jason's part. I think he probably just listens to a lot of right-wing demagogues. Probably listens to a lot of Steven Crowder or Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro or Fox News or fucking Jesse Lee Peterson, maybe Jordan Peterson. Who the fuck knows? Also, a lot of trans people do go to therapy. 100%. Yeah. It's like saying being left-handed is a mental illness. Yeah, but good luck convincing someone like Jason to believe that, right? Like, it's like hammering your fucking head against a brick wall at a certain point. That's why I just have the conversation, but I acknowledge I'm not going to change Jason's mind, probably ever. If Jason's mind ever gets changed, it's probably not going to be something he'll ever credit me for. So it is kind of just smashing your head against a brick wall. But what can I do besides try to plant seeds when it comes to someone who's ultimately being very civil, but is asking questions that I think come from a pretty ignorant place? Like, I think you have to be at a pretty ignorant place to think that transgenderism is a mental illness, when in fact the mental illness is gender dysphoria, and transgenderism is the fucking treatment, you know? But I know that, and you know that, but Jason doesn't know that. And when Jason hears me say that, he thinks I'm just making this shit up. And when Jason goes to look it up, he ends up reading sources that tell him fucking complete bullshit, because the search trends that like the type of media that you spend all your time listening to affects what Google shows you in terms of search results and shit. So if you're generally listening to fact-based media, you're going to get generally fact-based shit in Google. But if you're always listening to fucking right-wing conservative think tank shit, you're going to get right-wing conservative think tank shit in your results more often than not. And even if you don't, someone that watches a lot of right-wing media is way more likely to disregard sources that they regard as unreliable due to some perceived political affiliation, usually due to them being an example against a narrative that that person has decided must be true for one reason or another. There is a whole lot of self-justification and mental gymnastics that goes on in the mind of a conservative, but really not my fucking, it's not my place to tell another person how they should or should not believe, or how they should or should not argue about any given thing, or what they should or should not be passionate about, you know? But I do kind of sometimes think that I think that sometimes people are coming at it from a strange place, you know, where maybe they could afford to make an active effort to consider some of these other sources. But, you know, I don't know Jason well enough to know how much of the shit that I just said about conservatives in general applies to him in specific. He may not even be a conservative. He may be someone who is socially liberal in a bunch of different ways, but is just against trans people. Who the fuck knows, you know? And that's why I try to be open with these conversations. That's why I try to keep myself open-minded in them, because you don't know what direction people are coming from, you know? People have all kinds of contradictory belief systems. You can be a total fucking leftist and be against trans people. You can be a total fucking leftist and be racist. You can be it's a contradiction of your fucking views, but I've met people that are like that, you know? You can be a total fucking right-winger and completely anti-racist. Once again, complete contradiction of your views, but, you know, I've met people that are that way. So how do you account for that? Without saying, you know, human beings are complicated creatures. You don't really know what direction a person's coming from any given issue until you talk to them about it. I do respect you, even though I might not agree. Well, hey, at least we can agree there. I think we have mutual respect for each other, at least enough to have a conversation, and that's good. I also believe that everyone should try weed before calling it a gateway to sin or some shit. I agree too, but honestly, a lot of the people who say it's a gateway to sin, that is such uncommon rhetoric these days. I feel like a lot of those people have died out by now, and the people that are left saying that shit, man, you ain't never gonna get them to try no weed. Well, honestly, you might though. Here's the weird thing: boomers and like boomers are starting to get real fucking old now. Boomers are starting to get very, very old, and they are, because a lot of boomers did smoke pot in their younger years. They are, as states legalize and recreationally legalize and shit, there are a lot of old people trying weed again for the first time in decades. People that, you know, 10 years ago were talking about how it's the devil's lettuce and all this shit and a gateway drug and all this other stuff. But now, you know, they've kind of seen the light, and their doctors have talked them into it because they know it'll make them more comfortable in their final years. And they're trying it out again. And so I think that that's a positive development, you know, that people are beginning to see how it really can help them. I am really thankful that the seniors of America are by and large taking up weed in way bigger numbers than any other age cohort as far as medical weed goes. Like, there are more old heads smoking weed for medical reasons than there are young people. And I think that that's great, because that means that people are going to grow up with their grandmas and grandpas smoking pot, and, you know, not like continuing to be productive people, continuing to be loving grandparents and all that shit. It'll really normalize what I think is something that is completely normal. I think pot is one of the least offensive fucking drugs that there are. Why the fuck is that? Would you hush? Before I came out at all, I was closed-minded and angry. I was lapping up conservative brain rot and sharing opinions without any backing. I'm ashamed of this, but I also see how fear ruins lives. So 100%. Fear and the idea that you might be repressing a part of yourself produces a lot of vitriol, and I talk about it all the time, Sophia. I mean, you've probably heard me talk about it in here, talk about how a lot of the people who hate on me are probably just closeted trans people, honestly, and it's sad, but they are, deeply, deeply closeted. They refuse to admit to themselves even that they want to live a life with way more gender nonconformity than they're currently able to live, and it fucks them up. Yes, that was a cat. My dad told me he thought weed was a gateway drug, and I laughed in his face. Yeah, I mean, I've rolled my eyes at my dad many a time in some of his speeches about weed because it's just so fucking misinformed. But what can you do? I'm legitimately scared of closeted homophobic gay men who secretly use Grindr. Yeah, me too, because they will fucking turn on a dime. They will turn on a dime because something you say reminds them of the reality that they're facing and makes them fucking afraid and paranoid, and then you're fucking dead in a ditch somewhere. Yeah. Homophobic gay men, like fucking closeted gay men that are super homophobic as a result of their being closeted are some of the scariest fucking hookups you can have. You want to have a heart attack while you're giving a blowjob, just find one of those guys. Being closeted sucks, so I get the anger. I get it too, but that's why they should just be honest with themselves. That like it can't feel good to be that way. Weed's probably not great for developing minds. I'm not saying that grandpas and grandmas should be sharing the weed with their fucking kids. And I didn't say anything about kids fucking smoking pot, but I do think that if you have certain conditions, I mean, hey, this is just something that the American medical community largely agrees on. Some patients under the age of 18 or under the age of 21 do benefit from having medical cannabis due to certain conditions, right? Like if you have epilepsy, cannabis can be a solution for you, Can be. I'm not saying it always is. Just saying it can be. It's one of the treatments. Or it can be part of a suite of treatments. Anyway, Sophia, if you're still here, I will play you my favorite Phil Oakes song. Outliers for sure, right. And you have to account for them. Bro looked like Peter Griffin in that one episode. How specific and fucking intelligent. Man, what a roast. Alright, Sophia, I see you in chat. This one goes out to you. I cried when they shot Medgar Evers. Tears ran down my spine. And I cried when they shot Mr. Kennedy, as though I'd lost a father of mine. But Malcolm X got what was coming. He got what he asked for this time. So love me, love me, I'm a liberal. I cheered when Humphrey was chosen, my faith in the system restored. And I'm glad that they voted the commies off the AFL-CIO board. I love Puerto Ricans and Negroes as long as they don't live next door. So love me, love me, love me, I'm a liberal. I read New Republic and Nation. I've learned to take every view. I read Harry and don't be wager. I feel like I'm almost a Jew. But when it comes to times like Korea, there's no one more red, white, and blue. So love me, love me, love me, I'm a liberal. Okay, I'm gonna see what that dog is barking at because it is getting annoying. I'm gonna bring you guys with me. Guess we'll check over here first. It's beginning to look like these dogs just put me out for no reason. Were you guys just barking to fucking bark? Really? Because I don't hear nor see a goddamn thing. So I think you motherfuckers are just barking to bark. Okay. There we go. Sorry, y'all. No, it's probably annoying, but okay. Thank you so much for singing that. You're welcome. I'll sing one more verse because it's my favorite verse of the whole song. Sure, I was young and impulsive. What's the words? There. I fucking... God, man. I need to get a shedding brush for one of those cats. Because, God, one of them is just endlessly producing hair. And I feel like it's getting in my mouth all the time. Okay, yeah, now I've got it. Sure, I was young and impulsive, wore every conceivable pin, even went to the socialist meetings, learned all the old Union hymns. But I've grown older and wiser, and that's why I'm turning you in. So love me, love me, love me, I'm a liberal. What's going on? What is going on in my chat? What does a cow like on their salad? Ranch. Ranch. What's up, Perseus? Pass the joint, Phoebe. I'm dry right now. There you go, bud. I don't know if you'll be able to reach it through the screen, but, you know, there's not much left. You can, you know, you can kill that one if you want. Mushrooms. Ha. Ha. Mushrooms and weed. Or I'm such a fucking pothead, dude. I'm ridiculous. I'm a fucking parody of myself. Was in a D&D session. Well, good. They came after me with masterful deceit, broke down my loot and they kicked in my teeth, while the devil's horns ripped our tender meat. So cried the witcher, he can't be beat. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh, oh. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty. Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty, oh, oh. Toss a coin to your witcher, the friend of humanity. I'm not going to claim to be able to play that song, but I do like that song. I can do mushrooms though, they don't test for it. Nice. Mushrooms are fun. Mushrooms are good. They're nice. They're fun. It's been great chatting, but my bowl is smoked and I'm passing out. Good night and take care. Well, good night, Sophia. Thank you for hanging out with us. It's always fun. It's always as great. I'm a fan fiction writer. I don't have time. Well, you know, that's fair. Although someday you may find you don't have time for fan fiction, which might be a very sad day indeed. I'm gonna switch to my weed vape. Let's get Phoebe retarded stoned before she cuts the stream out for the night. By the way, there's 100 people watching. Make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help the channel, and I really do appreciate every single one. It also helps the chat. It keeps the chat more interesting and the stream more interesting, therefore, by making sure that new blood cycles in. So please hit that like button. It really does help. Either double tap your screen or hit the button on the side rail. Also, if you want to make absolutely sure one of your chats gets read, I read every single super chat, even the hateful ones, even the ones that are barely legible. I read them all. I at least attempt to. Oh man, yeah. Trips like that are terrible. Like, you are so suggestible when you're on mushrooms, or acid for that matter, but since we're talking about mushrooms, you are so suggestible when you're on a drug like that. And if somebody comes home angry, dude, you can try, especially if you know, right? If you know that you need to, you can try to hold on to your high. But a lot of times they will start needling you about it, and then it just gets worse and worse from there, and eventually it becomes like a bad trip. God, I am so fucking glad I'm not in a relationship like that anymore. My partner right now, I'm not saying we never fight. We definitely have our arguments sometimes, but we do not, we don't do it like me and one of my exes used to. Me and one of my exes, it would be like a whole day affair. They would just like they'd start usually in the morning or the midday, and the rest of the fucking day and all night it would be needling, needling. And I'm not saying I didn't fucking participate in it. I would give that energy back. And then, I would think that maybe the issue was past and we would be able to move past something. And I would try to make some conciliatory gesture. But then she would fucking snap back, once again, just going right back into it. Oh, man. That shit was tiresome. I'm too afraid of what I'm gonna do to try shrooms. What are you afraid you would do? Run out of a window or something? Don't worry, dude. Mushrooms do not deprive you of all of your fucking perception of danger. And if you're worried about it, what I would recommend is a trip sitter. If you really want to try mushrooms or something like that, and I'm not recommending that anyone do. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I am not qualified to give medical advice. What I am saying is that, in my humble opinion, as a stoner, I think if you're going to, I think you should probably try to be responsible about it and have a trip sitter. Someone either who is not going to be tripping or who has tripped a bunch on their own and with other people and will be able to handle their shit enough to not just handle themselves, but to handle you also. And you need to have that person around for your first couple of trips if you really want to be maximal about your safety. Another thing I recommend to people who want to do some kind of hallucinogenic experience is to spend the afternoon before. Here's my list of 3 recommendations. Number 1, do it at night. Number 2, do it after spending all afternoon cleaning the space in which you're going to be tripping. And number 3, do it with the right people or no people once you've done it enough. If you're experienced and seasoned, it's better to trip alone than it is to trip with bad company, just so that you can have someone to fuck around with when you're high, right? When you're tripping. So that would be my 3 recommendations, is just time, location, and company. Hotel rooms are great places to trip. For exactly this reason. I mean, especially motels. Like, motels don't give a fuck. Motels don't give a fuck if you're strung out or fucking tripping acid or high as fuck or whatever. They don't give a shit. Like, they just care that you paid the fucking fee to get in the room that night. That's what they give a shit about. You did that. You keep in the room fucking. Did you do that? Yes. Are you smoking in a non-smoking room? No. Okay, you're fine. As far as a motel is fucking concerned. Just listen to the song, definitely adding that to the playlist. There you go. I might be helping you discover things a little bit, Do shrooms alone. Make sure to stare at yourself in a mirror and in an uncomfortable setting. That's a horrible fucking advice. The West advices. That's like Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilding advice in the 80s. Him giving purposefully bad advice to his competitors so that they wouldn't be able to get to his heights, which was fucking brilliant and deviant, by the way. But yeah, if you're going to do some kind of hallucinogen, do it at night. This is because your light levels are way easier to control at night than during the daytime. During the daytime, there's only so far you can run from the light. And most of the places where you can get that are truly dark are going to be needed by someone at one time or another. I'm talking places like bathrooms and things like that. And most people don't want to give up their closet to the crazy roommate of theirs that's tripping acid and needs darkness, right? So do yourself a favor, do it at night, where if the subtle lights in the living room become too much, you can find a dark place outside. And you will be shocked at, number one, you'll be shocked because, number one, just go out one of these days, not tripping, and let yourself adjust. Like, stand in a dark place without your phone and just like look in the darkest spot for as long as it takes to see it clearly, and eventually you probably will. Like, the human eye can adjust an insane amount more than people think it can. The human eye can adjust to pretty insanely low levels of night or light. Sorry, my speech is falling apart. But people can adjust to pretty low levels of light. But if you're on acid, dude, it's like acid really is like having a weird kind of, maybe this just reveals me being a bit of a tech nerd and kind of a video game nerd, but like it's like having a weird mod in your psychology for a few hours. And one of the effects of that weird mod is like a dynamic gamma adjuster. Does that make sense? Like dynamic gamma adjustment. So something that would normally be just barely visible becomes way more clearly visible on acid for some reason. I don't know what it is your brain does to it. And the only way I can think to explain it is how I just explained it. Hello, welcome. I just have a bell I ring for my GF for tea and BJ's. That sounds like a pretty epic life, honestly. I seriously am thinking about getting my GF to make some tea. She makes the best meadow tea. What the fuck is meadow tea? What on earth is meadow tea? Also, I ask you guys, has anyone heard of Jesse Wells in here? Is that an artist anyone's familiar with? Because I wrote a song that is a response to a song he wrote. You're the sub, so you don't get that. That's fair. Yeah. You're the one who has to listen to the bell. You haven't heard? Damn. Last week, I seen a video about how the human eye works, and it's incredible. Oh, yeah. It is. It really is a wild fucking biological machine. But, yeah, so you do your acid at night, or your weed or whatever at night, so that if you need to, you can go to a really dark place and let your brain do, like, let it work out whatever it wants to work out. And then when it comes to the second thing, you want to make sure, absolutely sure, that you are doing it in a place where you have don't have any problems that your brain can convince you can spend 5 minutes to fix, or you will spend your entire night cleaning your house. Don't, like, unless you just want to do acid and clean your house, don't do acid and clean your house, you know? And you're going to do acid and clean your house, even if you don't want to, if you do acid in a dirty house and you're a person that has any obsessive tendencies. If you've got any sort of obsessive tendencies tied to hygiene or cleanliness, you will get stuck in a loop of doing dishes and taking out garbage and cleaning and dusting and making everything perfect. And you wouldn't go nearly that far if you just cleaned it up beforehand, but then again, your brain wouldn't notice so many different things, you know? And what your brain does notice, right? So here's the beautiful thing. If you start cleaning when you're on acid, you'll clean your house better than you've ever fucking cleaned it, because you will be getting to so many different nooks and crannies. You'll be doing so much shit. You also have to be careful about it, because if you have like a china cabinet or anything, you really want to be careful with that kind of thing, because you can be really stupid with your motions when you're on acid, especially if you are like me. Like, I have autism, so that probably makes it worse. I'm already kind of a klutz, but like acid can elevate that kind of thing. Something to be aware of. But if you do all that cleaning in the afternoon before you take your acid in preparation for it, right? You do all that cleaning, then you get two things out of that. Number one, you get a really clean environment that is really nice to trip in, full of nice, pleasant smells and wonderful sensory experiences that are easy to enjoy, because they aren't underlaid with this dirty kind of like, ooh, gross kind of feeling that your brain would otherwise be spitting at you. And the other thing it does is it sends you into that trip with a feeling of accomplishment. It sends you into that trip with an idea, I've done things right today, I deserve this, and everything is clean so I can enjoy everything. And you will enjoy your trip way more. And you will find all kinds of crazy shit to look at and think about. and feel. I've done mushrooms once in my life. It was after a rave. I had the only anxiety attack while I was there. I took some MD, but it didn't work LOL that I have ever had in my life. And then I got, then you got what? Then I got my friend to his house and he gave me 2 tabs of mushrooms. 2 tabs? I remember more of the feeling and thoughts than the rest. Are you sure you didn't get acid? Are you 100% sure you didn't get acid? I think the biggest injustice a transgender can do to themselves is argue about their choice because even chromosomes scream against it. Just be you. We appreciate your presence. I mean, that's the thing is chromosomes don't. You realize XX and XY are not the only 2 arrangements, right? Like, there are fully functioning adult human beings that are like XXY. Or, I don't remember what all the other ones are, but there are like a dozen different fairly common arrangements of chromosomes that happen in like 1 in 100,000 babies or whatever, you know? So even chromosomes are sadly not that simple. But I get what you're saying. I should work out. I'm being lazy for 3 weeks. Went down because I'm taking care of my mother that can't walk. Well, you're in an understandable position. I mean, I should work out, like, but I don't because I'm a fat ass that finds it hard to get the motivation to do shit that would be working out, you know? I mean, I also don't have a gym membership or anything like that, but there are probably things around the farm I could do that would be considered working out on some level, but it's just, like I said, hard to get myself into that motivated place. English is not my first language. By tabs, I mean like they looked like pieces of a tab of chocolate and I took them. Were they little tiny sheets of paper, like little tiny squares of paper? And did it have any kind of artwork on it? And to someone else in the chat, does anyone know if it has ever been a common preparation of mushrooms to provide them on blotter paper? Because my understanding is that too high a heat will just kill psilocybin. So could someone clarify this for me on the chat? Because I know you can do psilocybin tea, and what that makes me think is that maybe if you just did that psilocybin tea, extracted it, and then, but I don't know, like, is it a volatile compound? Is it something that evaporates? And if so, like, what's the exact right temperature to get the water to where the water evaporates, but the psilocybin doesn't? Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't, like, I've only ever heard of mushrooms being dosed in the form of tea, where whole mushrooms are steeped in water that is a very specific temperature that is hot enough to extract but not hot enough to destroy because psilocybin is very temperature sensitive. Or just eating the mushrooms themselves. That's the only way I've ever heard of mushrooms being administered. So if someone else has experience with it being administered in the form of blotter paper, please let me know in the chat. I've never took LSD. My friends did. Shrooms would help with the chore list, not gonna lie. Yeah, they can. They definitely can. Nah. I'm new to the drug shit, so I don't know. I know TBC, that is it, really, and I don't know that much. Yeah, see. I need a fucking old head in here right now. I need Paul Zigo is what I need. That's who I fucking need. I wish I had, like I do have Paul's Discord, but I can't just like hit him up and be like, hey, fucking, I got a what drugs you done question, but it's literally in furtherance of my own dumbass fucking chat. I don't know. That would be a violation of the fact that I've had conversations, with dude. But that's who I need, That's who I feel like would have an instant answer to this question as far as people that I've had conversations with. You a female? For your purposes, yes. What's the question? Okay, are mushrooms ever administered in the form of blotter paper? Because I have only ever heard of mushrooms being administered in the form of tea, where whole fungal material is steeped in water that's hot enough to extract but not hot enough to destroy the psilocybin, or whole fungal matter is just consumed whole. That's the only way I've ever heard of mushrooms being done, or in the form of like chocolate bars. But I've never had one of those chocolate bars, but I've always just assumed that they're just grinding up the mushrooms to a really fine powder and adding them in there as one of the bulk ingredients. I don't know though. What if I could get my GF to put weed in the tea? I could. No, that's not. No, that's not how it works. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. In order for cannabis to be extracted, so here's an interesting little science lesson for all of you folks. So the reason why psilocybin can be extracted with water, but THC cannot, is because THC is a lipid. In other words, it's an oil, and psilocybin is, I don't remember what the name for it is, but it's like an aqueous compound or something like that. It's it can be dissolved in water. It's water soluble, I think is the word I'm looking for. So THC is water insoluble, as in it does not dissolve in water. It does not naturally, it is not freed from its bonds with other molecules by the action of water. Whereas something that is water soluble is. And psilocybin is water soluble. So if you have mushrooms in a certain temperature of water, I think it's like 180 degrees or something like that, it will extract the psilocybin, but psilocybin is also temperature sensitive, so you can't have it much hotter than like 200 degrees, I think, before it just all burns up, basically. So you have to be very fucking careful with it. You have to air towards the other side because there's like a wide envelope. There's like the the best extraction is achieved at a certain temperature, but there's like a wide envelope where you'll still get a massive amount of psilocybin. And you can wet extract psilocybin. It just takes way longer. The heat helps it release by denaturing some of the proteins and other molecules that are holding the psilocybin molecules in their place. It's processed with isopropyl alcohol. Are you talking about THC or the mushrooms? It would not surprise me if THC, or I'm sorry, it would not surprise me if psilocybin is alcohol soluble. And it would probably make sense because I know that alcohol evaporates way faster under atmospheric pressure and ambient temperature than water does. I know that's why. I know that's how Rick Simpson oil works. That's why it's so effective as a non-heat related way of extracting a bunch of weed. I have to liquid THC or whatever, so like, oh, what? Wait, if you have liquid THC, like if you have what's called tincture, if you have the shit that goes on, or not goes on, but if you have the shit that goes in food or drinks or whatever, then yes, you can make you a weed drink. Although I will tell you, don't expect it to mix well with most things. If you want weed tincture, this is a secret a lot of people don't know. Dude, I can provide you guys with some valuable stoner information right now. So because I know a little bit about the chemistry behind these different drugs, I can tell you that THC, being a lipid, binds readily to fats. So what you're looking for if you want something that's going to accept tincture like a pro and distribute well throughout the entire drink, you're looking for something with fat in it. So you're looking for milk. You're looking for a milk-based drink of some kind. Milk tea works great for this. Milk coffee works great for this. But you're looking for something where those THC molecules have a fat to bind to. Not only does that help the THC get evenly distributed throughout the drink that you're putting it in, but it also helps your digestive system digest it more effectively. Fun fact. That's why can butter can get you so high. Yeah, like 6 drops, but I'm telling you, dude, it's like it's going to be a way better experience if you put like a shot of milk in there and mix it all up, because that THC will all bind to that milk and it will all distribute together, and it won't just be an oil slick. Because listen, if you're just going to mix it in with regular old tea, which honestly, okay, tea might be different because tea I think is pretty oily on its own. I'm pretty sure the active chemical in tea that makes tea is actually itself a lipid. So maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I'm completely fucking way the fuck off on this. Because actually maybe THC would mix readily with tea. I never tried it, but now that I actually think about the chemistry of it, I'm pretty sure that the active ingredient, so to speak, in tea is a lipid. So maybe it would work, come to think of it. But I was going to say, you'd be better off mixing you like a shot of milk in there or cream or whatever you've got on hand just to give it something to bind to. That's what I would do if I was in your position, but hey. Vaping is the safest way, actually, probably after edibles. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much universally understood. I mean, vapor is way less harmful to your lungs than fucking straight smoke is, so yeah. Ain't no doubt about that. Could be just the tea itself. Well, yeah. I mean, THC by itself has a bitter taste to it, honestly. THC just by itself does not taste good. As a person who has had Rick Simpson oil just straight from the jar, it is not tasty. It has like a how do I put it? Imagine what motor oil probably tastes like. Yeah, there you go. That's what THC actually tastes like if you get down to the actual fucking molecule itself. Once you get down to the where you're just looking at like 98% pure THC, you're looking at a disgusting fucking flavor. It is horrible. It is real bad. It tastes like it doesn't. It's not. It's bad because it's boring, I guess, is a good way to put it, because it's like it produces this bad sensation on your tongue where it's just like, ugh. But it's not sour, it's not pungent, it's nothing. It's just like chemically and kind of vaguely grass-like, I guess. Bro, if you are 13, you are way too fucking young to be in this chat. What the fuck you doing here, bro? We are talking about getting stoned. I know, dude. What the fuck? Like I said, this stream is not for children. And yet, I am always faced with an influx of fucking little kids. Literally, I am so glad my whole chat had the same attitude that I do. Thank God, you guys. I appreciate y'all so fucking much right now, because it would have been such an indictment of humanity if I had to explain to you guys why I just banned that person. Way wrong place, bro. Way wrong place. Way wrong place, bro. I am not your fucking teenage helpline, dude. I am not your mama. I am not your fucking grandmama. I ain't your aunt. Don't ask me these stupid fucking questions, bro. We're talking about grown up shit. If you can't figure out how to ask that question and pose it like you're an adult who just never figured out socialization, then don't fucking come to me, bro, because I do not want to. I do not want to be responsible for a 13-year-old's first heartbreak. Little kids in COD too, dude. That's where they get this bold shit from. Oh, that's where 100% where kids get this fucking mistaken impression that they can fucking kick it with adults. Bro, I will be goddamned. My son will never have access to a COD game. All kinds of other fucking games, he'll be fine. I'll do it, but not Fortnite and not Call of Duty. He can have every fucking Far Cry game there is, every fucking Elder Scrolls game there is. He can have every fucking GTA ever made. But he ain't fucking getting online with that shit till he's like fucking like 16. And no Fortnite and no fucking Call of Duty. None. Those games are fucking brain rot. Do you think that weed can help with dealing with depression? I don't have to think it. I know it. My depression has been helped by cannabis use. A lot of people I know's depression has been helped with cannabis use. Cannabis is universally useful for that kind of thing. 100%. Can he play Battlefield? 100%. Yeah, sure. Battlefield's not nearly as toxic. Dude, a lot of the toxicity I've witnessed on Battlefield 4 is just like in fucking text chat and shit. It's like, man, I'm not worried about that shit. I just won't get him a keyboard, and I'll just tell him to ignore the chat. I'll give him the best way to ignore the chat too, because I'm not going to be like every other mom that's just like, you know, I don't know. I feel like so like I'm glad my mom didn't do this. Usually she did sometimes, but usually her policy was more similar to what I imagine my policy is going to be. But a lot of moms have this policy like, well, you just have to ignore them because they don't know you, and they try to be all soft and understanding and human and empathetic about it. And that's great. I understand why, but sometimes I think the best thing you could tell a kid is, don't. Those people are morons, bro. They are people that are playing a video game, and they're more fucking concerned with what they're saying in a chat that's being seen mostly by people your age, you know? So a bunch of people that are doing great things in 8th grade, which is great for them and their families, but, you know, like, nobody in 8th grade's the fucking president, you know? Like, these are not the cream of the crop people we're talking about. These are people performing through insults to an audience of 12-year-olds. Not to say there's anything wrong with being 12, you know? That's how I'll probably explain it, but maybe I'm getting that wrong. Huh? In my country, they don't cost money. I went to a public one, so he doesn't need any money. In my opinion, it helped me a lot, but I'm asking you for your opinion about it. Let me see here. My psychiatrist told me that weed makes my depression worse. Huh. That's weird. Okay, so here's what I'll say. I'm not a doctor, but what I understand about weed is that like any drug, it helps some people and it hurts some people, right? And for some people, it just depends on the dosage. So maybe you could talk to your psychiatrist about saying, well, hey, I will agree. I want to see if I can meet you somewhere in the middle. I don't think it hurts my depression, but maybe I can try limiting it to these times or whatever and seeing if that makes a difference. Because maybe it's not necessarily the weed itself, maybe it's just the dose. But you may be a person whose depression is not helped by weed. Now, it may not be that the weed is necessarily making it worse. It may be that it's getting worse on its own. But there's also the chance that maybe it is being worsened by your cannabis consumption. It is possible. It's not unheard of. You know, it's something to be aware of for sure. What's the flag behind me? It's the Progress Pride flag. I'd rather die than repeat that. What? Oh yeah, no, 100%. What are you going on about, cats, Temu? I'm finally giving you the attention you've been so desperately craving over the last 10 minutes. What the fuck are you going on about? You have one fucking opportunity. You have one fucking opportunity to make a fucking case for yourself that is clear, cogent, and not worthy of being banned. Oh man, and you were fucking taken out instantly. Let's see what your dumbass said. Oh, I low-key don't like you. Great. What fucking amazing contribution you've made to this chat. What an amazing fucking contribution. Look how much you've added to the conversation. Cunt. You hate me because you ain't me. That's my fault. It is your fault for refusing to be yourself. I had some arguments about it also because I'm not a great smoker. I smoke a joint once in every 4 to 6 months, so I don't know why you're so pressed about it. Yeah, dude, it just sounds like you need to get a new fucking psychiatrist, dude. That's just somebody who's biased against weed, because weed is pretty fucking universally understood by plenty of doctors to be good for depression, anxiety, and a bunch of other things, and a whole lot of patients. So the idea that you smoking it every 4 to 6 months would be hurting your depression, no. That is ridiculous. That is absurd. Play something? I think I will before I go. I'll play one more thing. Trying to think of what I want to play. Anyone have any requests? Are you happy with yourself? I'm currently not. Yeah, I would say I'm happy with myself. I'm not happy with every aspect of my current situation in terms of like life in general, I guess, or whatever, but that's just financial shit more than anything, you know? There are things I wish I could do that I can't do, but none of it has to do with my presentation or my emotional life or anything like that. Emotionally, I'm fulfilled. Dude is imagining what if I was having a pack of nachos? No, I'm actually imagining what it would be like if someone would ban your stupid fucking ass. But it's looking like I'm going to have to do the dirty work myself, sadly. No, actually, I was trying to think of a song I could play because someone requested one. Black Betty. I don't know Black Betty, sadly. Any song mentioning weed? Okay, hold on. I was gonna go to court, but then I got high. I was gonna pay my child support, but I know why. Now I'm sitting in a cell, I know why. Because I got high, because I got high, because I got high. Da, 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 da. I don't actually remember all the words to that song. Sometimes I'll just bullshit words to it, though. I was gonna smoke some weed, but then I got high. I was gonna do some dancing here, but then I got high. Now I'm watching the TV, and I know why. Because I got high, because I got high, because I got high. Da, 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 da. I'm trying to figure out a song. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. This is a song by Afroman called Will You Help Me Repair My Gate? Will you help me? Will you help me repair my gate? Will you help me repair my door? Did you find what you were looking for? Will you help me repair my gate and door? Is there a kidnapping victim in my suit pocket? Was there a kidnapping victim in my suit pocket? You corrupt cops have got to stop it. There wasn't a kidnapping victim in my suit pocket. Would you like a slice of lemon pound cake? Would you like a slice of lemon pound cake? You can have as much as you'd like to take. Would you like to have a slice of lemon pound cake? Was there 1,000 pounds of weed in my suit pockets? Was there 1,000 pounds of weed in my suit pockets? You crooked cops got to stop it. There weren't 1,000,000 pounds of weed in my suit pockets. Why are you disconnecting my cameras? Why did you disconnect my cameras? Why do the office disconnect my cameras? find a kidnapping victim in my CDs? Did you find a victim in my CDs? I don't know where you're getting this, please. There's not a kidnapping victim in my CDs. Why are you stealing my money? Why are you stealing my money? I don't remember the next line. God damn it. Oh well, I made it through more of that song than I thought I'd get through. Why did the Warren say narcotics and kidnapping? Why did the Warren say narcotics and kidnapping? Why did the Warren? I don't understand why the Warren said narcotics. Okay, well I understand narcotics, but why kidnapping? That's just a great song. What can you do? Just a Girl by No Doubt. I wish I could, but no. Alrighty, well, it's been real. It's been fun. And it's been real fun, but I gotta go. I'm sleepy. I will see you guys later. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.